So we are going to start our Goal Getters Get It Done webinar. This is really one of my favorite topics. I love goal setting. So, try to make it fun here and there with, it's goal getters. I've heard things like, goal friends, which I like that too. Was the other one, goal diggers. There are all kinds of fun ways that people talk about goal setting. So I'm Michonne Williams. I'm going to be leading this webinar workshop today. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself in a second, but it's always fun to start with a few laughs before we begin. So this is just to have me tickled. 2020, written by Stephen King and directed by Quentin Tarantino. Not a movie I would want to be in, okay? But we were all living that. How about this? Here you are, that's you running toward the rainbow and the green grass and the sunshine, and then the internet, right? So if you can relate to what I'm talking about, put a thumbs up in your reaction, because yeah, I just really relate to that. And then also, here we go. I spent hours writing down my goals. I recited my affirmations. I did my visualizations, all just to have my success while my competitors were out making sales calls. So it brings me to our topic today of goal setting, because we can do all these things to be effective with our goals, but we do still have to take the action. So that's another webinar. We're going to deal with just the goal setting piece today. But I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm Michonne, as I mentioned before. I have been in the wine industry, luxury wine industry, for about 10 years now. It's my passion. I love it. It just, opened me up to so much. But at the same time, I have a passion for leadership and for having people have a life of having it all, so having everything work for their lives. So giving up a perspective of either this or that. I can have this or that, that kind of thinking, to really make space for all of it. And that's why, I really just call myself being a lifestyle consultant, because I'm making space for my wine business, but also for my passion for, delivering on messages like this. So that's me. You can join this webinar every third Tuesday of the month at 12 noon Pacific. There's always a new topic. Next month, we're going to be talking about affirmations. So if you can use your chat, I'd love to get where you are right now. How confident are you with setting goals? With 1 being, no, not so much, to 10 being, yes, absolutely, I'm masterful at setting goals. If you want to drop your number in the chat, that would be cool. We can just see where you are. And then also, just how excited are you to set goals? Because again, like I said, I'm excited. I love setting goals. And I do think it takes some discipline to do them all the time, but it's certainly something that I appreciate and love to do. So, okay, good. So I see some responses. Thank you so much. So let's talk about the importance of setting goals. So this webinar, by the way, we're going to lay the groundwork of goals themselves. Like, what are they? Why are they? And then we're going to take the action of setting some goals for an area of your life. Okay. So the goal is defined as the object of a person's ambition or effort. It's your aim or desired result. The decision to set goals is very important because it really impacts our lives in so many ways, more ways than we can imagine, really. According to the Code of Living, setting goals affects our lives in 5 of the following ways. 1, setting goals provides a sharp sense of focus. Goals allow you to measure your progress. Setting goals blocks distractions and provides productive boundaries. Setting goals combats procrastination. How many of you deal with procrastination? So, yes, okay. Setting goals also motivates you. So let's find out a little bit more how this works. Stick with me for this, okay? When you set a goal for yourself, you inherently have an end game in mind, which then shifts your behavior and your thoughts. With this, you begin to take action and certain steps to what you want. You start to, kind of go step by step, little by little, to gradually pick up momentum toward getting you what you want, toward fulfilling on that goal. So did you know that momentum is literally addictive. Yeah, it is. As you progress and get closer to accomplishing your goal, your brain releases dopamine, which is a substance which controls your reward pleasure centers in your brain. And once those get triggered, or you get more of it, more of it, more of it, your brain naturally starts to get more motivated to helping you take the next step and the next step and the next step toward achieving that reward. Now, in this case, it would be your goal. That I love that. I think it's super interesting. Like that's the science of goal setting and goal achievement. When you do set your goal, you're going to have to develop a plan to get yourself there. And it's going to be a plan that will, outline your steps, let you know when you've hit certain milestones so you can see if you're off track or on track. And when you measure your goal, your plan, your milestones, it's going to allow you to see, of course, just how far you've come. One of the pitfalls is that we often think that we have not achieved as much as we should have or not achieved as much as we want. So it's incredibly motivating and encouraging to see your progress. That's why tracking is very important. So as you set your goals and you progress, you'll also learn different methods on how to take the best steps forward. So, measuring your progress also is going to permit you to make, maybe get, some alterations, get some feedback, kind of understand better, like, should I tweak this? Should I keep doing that? So tracking is a real, big piece of how to fulfilling your goals and making sure you're on the right track. So the ability to block distractions not only helps you achieve your goals sooner, but also helps you develop more self-discipline for yourself, which, let's face it, self-discipline is a great, strong life skill. When you have an end game in mind and are determined to get to that finish line, it becomes increasingly easier to avoid those things that will take you away from that end game. And that's why if you get that laser focus on the goal that you want to achieve, you're less likely to slip up or slip off track. So for those of you who do struggle with blocking out distractions, then here's a few tips that you can work with. First of all, focus on just 2 to 3 goals or tasks that you want to achieve. So, or have your goal, but focus on 2 to 3 things or tasks that will get you toward the goal. So a lot of times, we make a huge long list of things that we need to do to get us to where we want to go. But it's useful to just give yourself 2 or 3 so that you can check those off and you can still feel like you're building momentum and you can still feel like you're having progress. Focus on completing work in segments. So instead of attempting to tackle one huge project at once, break it down into bits. Distraction often comes distraction comes often when you don't have 100% focus on the task at hand, or you have what's called the overwhelm, right? That can get you distracted as well, and you might find other things to do. The other thing to do, or other thing to consider with boundaries, is that the ability to place boundaries in our life is also another skill, and setting goals helps give you constructive or productive boundaries. Goals provide boundaries by incentivizing you to know when to say no. No way, I'm not doing it. So it's good because a lot of times people do have a habit of taking on more or saying yes to more people or to more projects than they want to, or that are not in line with their true purpose or their true passion or their true goal. So sometimes people get really overwhelmed and get carried away with trying to do everything at once, and then they have the result of burning out. Have any of you ever had that feeling of being burnt out? I know I've experienced that a few times in my life where it's just like, oh my God, I just need to unplug and go away, right? So thank you. I see your thumbs up. Yes. So burnout can really, be detrimental to your goal setting because it's going to take you out of any activity, right? And it's okay to take a rest, but you don't want to burn out to the point where you just can't deal or you get disinterested in what you were setting out to do. So some people do have a fear of boundaries and they feel like maybe boundaries are too restrictive, it doesn't, it's going to keep them too bound up, it's going to prevent them from like going far. But the opposite is kind of true because again, these kind of boundaries are the kind of boundaries that will keep you in your goal fulfillment lane, right? So they're not going to be the kind of boundaries that are just going to, that are restrictive. They're the kind of boundaries that are going to be more about guidance. So we talked about this. We had some procrastinators in the room, I know. So it's something that a lot of us, deal with many areas of our life, whether it be like starting the diet, starting the exercise plan, picking up the phone to maybe make a sales call or to have a difficult conversation. We all deal with procrastination in some way or form at some point. So the good thing is that setting goals does help combat that situation, right? Setting goals helps you move beyond procrastinations because setting goals and striving toward them really it naturally increases your willpower and your drive. So willpower combined with your end game in mind makes staying the course and not wasting time way easier. So the best remedies for procrastination are motivation combined with a clearly defined desired outcome. So let's talk about motivation. So setting goals are innately exciting and they're motivational. It gives you something to strive for and something to achieve. And that's the thing, you want your goals to feel good. If your goals feel good, then you're going to feel a natural, pull toward achieving them. And so you want to have that feeling when you are setting your goals. So the drive, the energy, and your passion that comes with setting and achieving the goals are what gives you the strength to avoid distractions and obstacles. It helps you to overcome difficulties and stay the course. Being motivated also means taking action, and never giving up. Setting goals is inherently motivational because it just compels us, it excites us to get to the finish line. It's another piece of this in which will keep you motivated and excited is seeing your goals. So, it's if you don't see those goals, you're not going to be in touch with that excitement. Okay. So that's another piece of that. So, according to Lifehack, the most common reasons people fail to reach their goals are a few things. One is that their goals are not specific enough. So, how many of you have heard of SMART goals? Specific, measurable, achievable, reliable, and time framed. If you've heard of that, give me a thumbs up. This is what the experts suggest we use as a framework for setting goals. So SMART goals, meaning keep it specific, make it measurable, make it achievable, reliable, and time framed. For instance, instead of I want to make a lot of money, you would say, I want to earn $75,000 from collective sources of income by December 20th, 2021. This is more specific and it'll be more effective for you. So the whole thing too, I guess about achievable, so 75,000 might be achievable, more realistic for someone who's currently making 60,000, right? However, if you're making 10,000, maybe 75,000 would be less, like well, I shouldn't even say 75,000, like maybe like 3 million would be more of a stretch, right? So keeping those kinds of things in mind. So those are your SMART goals. The other thing that prevents people from fulfilling on their goals is what we talked about before, the procrastination. So you want to just watch for that. And when you set a goal, take an immediate action that's going to move you to that goal so that you can immediately, snap into the action mode and snap into the first step of building that momentum. The other reason why people do not fulfill on their goals is that they listen to people who are their critics in their lives, the people who are the poo-pooers, the naysayers, the people who just always have doubt, are always like, well, how are you going to do that? Their doubt might come through in actual words, it might come through in tone of voice. These are the kind of people that just are naturally going to go into, what's not possible. So you want to be careful of those people and sharing your goals and your dreams and your vision with those people. The other reason why some people do not make their goals is hanging around, it's kind of like a related, but poor company. So those kind of people, again, who, well, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but it's said that we are the average, who we are, are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So if you're striving toward big goals, you want to surround yourself with people who also think big and who go after the big goals for their own lives. So while, if you're hanging around those kind of people who are, again, not living their best lives or in a space of doubt consistently, you're more likely to get held back or to doubt yourself. But if you're surrounding yourself by people who are successful, they're goal getters themselves, these are people you respect, you admire, then you're going to give yourself that much more opportunity for success. And that's another reason why sometimes people, get into certain networking circles or, certain educational plans, just or certain social events, looking to surround ourselves with people who are more supportive of goal getting. Here's a quote. Succeeding your mission, you must have single-minded devotion to your goal. So we're going to start get into some goal setting, but start to think about what's your number one goal. And think about this from several areas. You want to think about a goal that you might have in, your personal life, your professional life, things like that. And there's a couple different areas we can look at. But let's talk about some creative ways that you can reach your goals. One of the most creative and powerful ways to effectively reach your goals is through visualization. This is a very powerful tool that most of us have not been taught. It's something we've maybe learned about eventually, but it's something that is often overlooked but needs to be practiced, because your visualization is part of how your brain starts to tap into what's possible, and it's how you start to move away from what you knew before, past sayings, past images, past assumptions about what you're capable of or what's possible for people. And by visualizing your goal fulfilled, you start to step into a new reality, a new possibility. You start to step into, what does it feel like? What does it taste like? What does it sound like to be in that space of my goal being fulfilled? So definitely want to practice visualization around the fulfillment of your goals. When you're speaking of your goals, speak with conviction. So instead of saying things like I wish and I want and I hope, you want to frame your goals like I will, I am. Really kind of language that has power and that has certainty. So there's a lot of power in the words that we use and the repetition that we use it with. So you want to speak as if that goal is done. And also just like, no matter what, that's often a nice phrase to put on the end of your goal, no matter what, or something better. Okay, so just again, there's no turning back. The other way to kind of help with fulfillment of your goals is to chunk it down. So breaking your big goal down into sub goals. Oftentimes when I write my monthly goals for, my goals for the month, I'll also give myself maybe weekly goals or a mid-month goal. So I know, again, am I on target? Am I going in the right direction? It starts to feel a little bit more, doable. I can get myself around that, get my head around, what exactly I need to do to fulfill on that goal. So I certainly recommend having your big goal, whatever that is, especially if you're dealing with a goal that's an annual goal or an end of year goal. What does it look like each month to be fulfilling on that goal? Okay. Another key is to use affirmations. Affirmations are positive, strong statements which affirm or declare our desired goal as if it were already achieved. So we're going to do more work on that on the next webinar, which would be Tuesday, April 20th at 12 noon. If you want to participate in that, we'll have a whole webinar on the purpose of affirmations, how they work, why we would use them, and how we apply them to our goals. So a lot of people do set goals with the right intention. They're super motivated on goal setting day. They're invigorated by this new possibility. I'm going to get this done. Things are going to happen. They just are eager to get started. But then oftentimes the little voice starts to crawl into their head and starts to get people a little bit of doubt. And whether it's a conscious thought of, oh my gosh, how could I do that? to some other subconscious pre-programming that starts to give you doubt, but sometimes that starts to seep in and we start to like water down our goals. So the most important step in the entire process of goal setting is to just begin to do the goal setting. So starting that process will increase your chance of success. And again, taking whatever next step is to follow. There are a bunch of different factors that do fall into this. However, the most important thing is just taking the first action. So we're going to start to do that now. So hopefully you have a piece of paper handy, or you can type something out on your screen. But the first step, of course, and we're just in a short webinar today, so we're going to just deal with one or two goals today. But you want to just make a decision. What is your goal? And when you have your goal, declare your goal out loud. I mean, you can do that now if you're on mute. You can write out a goal and scream it out if you like to do that. We'll also have an opportunity later to put it in the chat. But the first thing I want you to do is make a decision. Like, what is the goal that you have? In areas of maybe your finance, your career, maybe your spiritual life. Maybe you have a goal around relationships. Maybe you have a goal around your hobbies or your recreation. Maybe you have a goal about community. So just think about what your goal is and take a moment to write that down using the SMART goal structure, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, reliable, and I would say more relevant, and time measured. When you have your goal, whether now or later, you want to write it down 5 times. Write the goal down 5 times, just as a matter of practice and having that kinesthetic energy, which of repeating the goal. So we talked about repetition is a powerful way to start to bring your goals forward. And you also have the power of writing. So there is a connection between what you write and what gets triggered in your brain as well. Here's another piece, which is sometimes scary for people, but I think it's super important and effective. And that is to get on the phone and call 2 to 3 people in your life, share your goal with them, and have them hold you accountable, or have them, be people that you could share, how you're progressing on your goal, even every month, if it's a monthly goal or if it's a yearly goal. So that's another piece. And on your paper right now, in your exercise, write down 2 to 3 people that you could call after this webinar and share your goal with them. So I'm going to give you just about 2 minutes now to work on your goal, and then we will take the next step. We'll take another 30 seconds. Okay, let's come back. So we're going to, I hope you have some goals. We're going to share them shortly, but I want to add one other thing. And this is the make it happen. Like perspective on this. So if your goal is to lose weight, if your goal is to make more money, if your goal is to buy a new car, to fall in love, pay off your debt, do not have a backup plan. No, you get no backup plan. Okay. Will Smith actually has said, Will Smith, the actor, he has said, there's no reason to have a plan B because it distracts you from your plan A. Yeah. Okay. I mean, do you get that? If you agree with that, give me a thumbs up because that statement, it makes me a little scared, right? It makes it gives you that little bit of that nervousness because it's true. We kind of have sometimes we have these plans and then we're like, well, but if I don't make it, then it's this, or I can do that instead, or whatever. So I like this perspective. I definitely always believe, I have the belief that, shoot for the moon. If you fail, you still fall among the stars. I think that was Shel Silverstein. I love that as well. But I think when you have this perspective of no plan B, it's like, hey, I got to do this. This is it. This is happening. And my company, my wine company, we have an annual trip to France. And the first time that they offered this trip to France, I was many, many points away. So from getting the trip, I think over 15,000 points from getting the trip. And we had, I don't know, a month or so to go. And I remember declaring to my business partner, my mentor at the time, that I am going on this trip. Like there was something clicked for me and there was no going back. That was just happening. So I did whatever I need to do, to make it happen. And yes, I got that trip. I made it happen. And that feeling is so exhilarating. You do get the sense of your own power. So I want to just put that out there for everyone, that you don't want to take less than what you set out to achieve. Like, go for it, go all in, do whatever it takes, make it happen. Just really trust yourself to go the limit, to go as far as it takes. Have tunnel vision for your own desire. Have like just blinders on to get to where you want to be. Okay, so that you really get there. So we we talked about the work, right? We talked about the work. We talked about the work of doing the goals and writing them out. But here's the thing. We need to celebrate our successes along the way. You want to celebrate what you've achieved, whether a small step or large step or the final fulfillment of the goal. If you have milestones in place, celebrate at those milestones. They may not be the final goal, but give yourself, the acknowledgement, that applause, that pat on the back, or in my business, crack open the sparkling wine because, we need to allow ourselves the joy and the celebration. Every breakthrough requires acknowledgement for the effort that you have put in. We just don't acknowledge ourselves enough. There's a guy, his name is Ben Renshaw. He's the director of the Happiness Project and Success Intelligence. He says that on average, by the age of 18, we have been praised and encouraged 30,000 times. And most of this, get this, most of this praise and encouragement comes by the time we're 3 years old. 3. So a lot of that gets lost. And think about it, for most of us who are, gone up to high school and after high school, or if you've done college after that, not so much, right? Not so much praise and acknowledgement. So we've got to celebrate ourselves and make a habit of that. Neglecting to celebrate your successes can really slow you down, and it can start to subconsciously, seep in like some negative views, or just, it could start just putting on the brakes on what you want to do. So when you focus on what you haven't accomplished instead of what you have, you're less likely to stay on task and complete your goals. So, checking off those wins along the way is super important. So the good news is that celebrating your accomplishments can really boost your confidence. It can help you stave off that burnout we talked about and help fuel your continued success. So, what is your first milestone that you will be celebrating? Think about the goals that you wrote down, and of those goals, maybe choose one right now and write down a milestone. So, what would be a small step or two or three or four or five in between now and the fulfillment of that goal that you could celebrate yourself for? I'll give you about 30 seconds to write that down. Great. Now, another task, you can do that. Now, that milestone can stand on its own, or if you want to take it one step further, put that milestone into your calendar. So, by when will you start to see those milestones show up and get fulfilled on? That can be another piece to go a little bit deeper on your goal fulfillment. So, we're starting to get to the end of our webinar, but I wanted to tie up with a few more things and let you know that I'm such a fan of accountability and having accountability partners, and kind of setting up structure for accountability for yourself, especially in the areas of fulfilling on your goals. We all need some support and help, and loving on our goals and what we're up to, as we're trying to go for big things. So and what's typical, what's human is that we typically will stop short, or not go as hard or as fast as we'd like to go, just because things get a little tough, or you might have a challenge or something else comes up in life, right? So a good way to combat that is to have some sort of accountability. So if you're looking for someone to hold you accountable, I'm happy to help and be that person. But I also love the idea of a group accountability. And since all of you are here right now, this is one way we can kind of start that process. So as you've written those goals, I would love for you to drop your goals into the chat now. If you've got at least one or two that you'd like to share, because again, that's part of starting your accountability. Because once you speak your goal, once you share and declare it, or as I like to say, decide and declare, because deciding is this is happening, no way out. I'm putting my word down. And then you also declare it. So that's your accountability piece, so that people can support you. The two together are powerful. Okay. So please go ahead and add a goal in the chat so we can support you. Now, the other way that we can have some support together is I've got an upcoming group coming up, which is the Goal Getter Focus Group. So in this group, we're going to focus on, 1 to 2 goals that you would like to achieve in the next 30 days. So this is not going to be one of your long-term goals necessarily. Although it could be, let's say you have a long-term goal, but it would take 30 days, or you want to meet one of the milestones within that 30 days, excuse me, then that's totally fine. Okay. But it's taking 1 to 2 goals that we can focus on in a group, in a supportive group environment. And to get you going or to get you there. This group is going to include, kind of inspiration, motivation, some exercises, some sharing, so you can get that support. And it's going to be just a place where you can, definitely put it out there and get, that accountability going. So I hope that you'll join that. I'll drop in the chat as well the live link to that group. So that will start on Monday, the 29th. Of course, all this stuff is, it's free to do. So no cost there, but it certainly, would be of benefit to get involved, because why not? You're not going to lose anything, but you can gain a lot more by sharing in a group setting and getting support and getting some celebration and acknowledgement for all the steps that you're taking toward your goal. Okay, so here's some other resources I want to share with you before we complete, and that is to get a journal. And if you get a journal or a notebook, or you want to, start a file in your computer, just that's where you can document your days and your weeks and your months on your progress towards your goal. So again, if you've got something in a journal where you can check it off, or you can say what action you took. Sometimes I even create a tracking sheet for myself. And on that tracking sheet, I'll put, the specific steps that I see to take to get me to that goal, and I'll date it that way. So some other resources you might want to read more on goal setting. I love to read. I love to read. I don't make enough time for it, but I certainly love reading. So here are a few books that you can pick up if you're interested in going deeper. So there's a book by Brian Tracy. He's a well-known productivity coach, if you will. It's called Goals: How to Get Everything You Want Faster Than You Ever Thought Possible. There's another book called The Magic of Thinking Big: Acquire the Secrets of Success, Achieving Everything You've Always Wanted. That's by David J. Schwartz, Schwartz, PhD. Also, The Achievement Habit: Stop Wishing, Start Doing, and Take Command of Your Life. And that's by Bernard Roth. And the timeless classic, Think and Grow Rich. Just love that book, right? That's just one of the best books. So Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think that should be required reading for anyone who's, developing themselves as an entrepreneur, as a person going for goals or some big vision in life. There's a ton of apps online. You can go into the app store and look at some goal setting or goal getting apps there if you prefer to get support on your phone. And one of the most important resources that you can have is to really have a belief in yourself, what you're capable of, and in making it happen. So those are your resources. I know that goal getters get further faster. So I'm really happy to share this information with you. So in the chat, let me know, do you feel more inspired or overwhelmed in this conversation? Because both of these feelings, to be honest, can be useful. They can be useful in just being inspired and taking action, being overwhelmed and taking action. That's the solution for both of those feelings, frankly. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of this webinar with me. It's really awesome. I see some goals in the chat. Thank you so much. By March 2022, I want to have my solo show ready to perform. Excellent. I see appreciate the inspiration tips. Thank you. And I am expanding my Wine Society membership with 2 members a month for all of 2021. Love it. Love seeing the goals for sure. Awesome. And that's what I'm saying. Once you participate, you just start things getting in motion. So again, goal setting, I should say goal getting. I prefer goal getting, right? Goal getting is something that just excites me. It's definitely part of my formula for success. I actually call goals as our desire fulfillment formula. So it's just the key to getting what you want in your life. So lastly, I want to remind you that this is available. This is happening. I'm going to drop the chat and drop into the chat, this link so that you have it live and you can join the group if you haven't already. And feel free to share the link, of course, with anyone who you think might, want some support around a goal. Maybe they have a big goal, maybe they have a small goal, they have something that if they just got something done toward their goal in the next 30 days, that would make a difference for them. So absolutely, please invite your friends, your colleagues, who you think could really benefit from something like that. I will be in that chat, in the group every day, of course, along with some other people who are not on this webinar, but who have already signed up for the group. And with that, thank you so much. I love that you're here. I appreciate your time. And it's my pleasure to be here and to share this information.
Thank